Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Barrio Logan residents have been complaining about a recycling company in their neighborhood for at least 6 years. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says the city of San Diego is now suing the company.
Loud pounding from dismantling cars and construction work. Rumbling vibrations from trucks starting early in the morning. Diesel trucks idling throughout the day near homes.
And the slamming, like the compacting of the bigger pieces of scrap metal on the cars, we've heard was very disruptive, especially when folks were working from home and things like that.
Those are some of the complaints Barrio Logan residents have had against their neighbor SA Recycling going back to at least 2019. Julie Corrales has advocated for separating industry from homes in Barrio Logan.
It definitely affected their quality of life.
The scrap metal recycling company is on the corner of Main and 32nd Streets. It sits across the street from multiple single-family homes and apartments. The San Diego City Attorney's Office is suing SA Recycling for violating permitting laws and causing a public nuisance.
So that's encouraging because a lot of times it felt like this was all falling on deaf ears at the city.
The lawsuit says the company does not have the permits to dismantle cars near residential neighborhoods. It also alleges the company is illegally running a large-scale recycling facility. SA Recycling said in a statement, in part, quote, "We are confident the facts will show that our operations are permitted and not a nuisance." City zoning investigators say they confirmed the unpermitted operations after several inspections since 2019. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
Tonight we are looking at some extra clouds working their way back into the area. The marine layer deepening for a 66 for the low. It's going to set us up for a cool Tuesday. The question is, what changes into the week to come? I'll have that full forecast coming up.
It's down to the wire in Washington again, and Democrats face a new wrinkle against the federal funding deadline. The White House is threatening mass layoffs across the government workforce. Karen Kafer reports.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt Monday ahead of a scheduled meeting between President Donald Trump and congressional leaders from both parties that Trump postponed last week.
We want the government to stay open. The president is giving Democrats one last chance to be reasonable today.
Despite Republicans controlling both chambers of Congress, Democrats do have some leverage in the Senate, where Republicans hold 53 seats but need 60 votes to clear a measure. Democrats are demanding an extension of Affordable Care Act health care subsidies for millions of Americans set to expire at the end of the calendar year in exchange for their support.
We've said from the beginning that we're willing to find a bipartisan path forward, and our line in the sand is the bill has to help everyday Americans, not hurt everyday Americans.
Republican leaders say that debate can wait.
You don't hold the people hostage for their services to allow yourself political cover, and that's what Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are doing right now.
Democrats say Republicans had plenty of time to negotiate with them before this week.
They have the White House, the House, and the Senate. They've had plenty of months to put forward legislation where they could work with us to get this passed. They waited till the very last minute.
Meanwhile, in an effort to further pressure Democrats, the White House Budget Office has directed federal agencies to draw up plans for potentially permanent cuts to the federal workforce if the government shuts down this week. In Washington, Karen Kafer, KPBS News.
The Trump administration's tariffs are hitting the big screen. In a social media post today, President Trump announced plans to impose a 100% tariff, quote, on any and all movies that are made outside of the United States. So far, there's no word about when or how this move will be enacted, but it would be the first time President Trump threatened to place a tariff on a service as opposed to a raw good. At least one industry analyst says a tariff like this would be too tough to enforce. San Diego's Toni Atkins is ending her campaign for governor of California. Atkins made the announcement today in an email to supporters and a post on social media. She launched her campaign last year when she was still serving as California State Senate president. Since then, the field has grown increasingly crowded. Recent polling showed Atkins struggling to compete with support in the single digits. Unions representing Sharp Healthcare and Kaiser Permanente nurses continue negotiations today as the deadline to reach deals quickly approaches. Both unions have been negotiating for months. Sharp's nurses union represents more than 5,000 on staff. They say they are getting paid less than similar positions at other hospitals in the county.
There's still hope to get it done, but if we have to take action, we will. There won't be a choice left at that point if we decide to go that route.
Sharp provided this statement to KPBS, saying in part the union's proposal is not feasible, especially in light of the financial headwinds facing not-for-profit healthcare providers, including Sharp. They have another bargaining session tomorrow. Despite its designation as Tree City, USA, Poway is cutting down hundreds of trees. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn says it's to help with wildfire evacuations.
This project was years in the making. Poway got nearly $2 million from FEMA hazardous tree removal mitigation grants to remove mostly dead or dying trees on two major evacuation routes in the city.
It absolutely could be a matter of life and death.
Poway was devastated by wildfires in the past, namely the Cedar Fire in 2003 and the Witch Creek Fire in 2007. Jenna Stein is the city's emergency preparedness program manager.
We lost homes during both of those fires, and the threat continues to this day. It's a part of where we live. The countryside is beautiful, but there is an inherent fire risk.
I had to evacuate twice.
Audrey Coble lives off Twin Peaks Road. She remembers the chaos of fleeing with her husband and two children in the Cedar Fire.
And I had them line up in single file. We had to go north. The freeway was jam-packed. I would hate to see that happen again.
She's glad the city's taking the proactive step in clearing the trees, especially the eucalyptus trees.
A fire hazard for sure.
Trees that are slated for removal are marked with the blue dots or the white dots, like this one here. The whites were the initial analysis and the blue ones were added later.
We're really focusing on those specific trees that pose a hazard. Trees that are dead or dying or that have an improper growth structure.
The main areas where the trees will be removed are Twin Peaks Road, Espala Road, and Green Valley Open Space. The city hopes to have most of the trees removed by the end of the year. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The nonprofit app Watch Duty is revolutionizing how people get information about wildfires and evacuations. KPBS reporter Scott Rod says it's not just residents in vulnerable areas downloading the app. Firefighters are using it too.
An automated notification flashes on Liam Winstead's computer screen, alerting him to a potential grass fire.
It looks like it's near the mall here in Carlsbad, along the 78 on the Oceanside border.
Now the clock starts ticking. Winstead is a staff reporter with Watch Duty. He needs to confirm if this fire is real and whether it poses any danger. Winstead pulls up live lookout cameras in the area.
I see there might be one super far away on Pendleton. There's this San Marcos Peak camera. I don't see anything super obvious.
He checks out traffic maps from Caltrans to see if there's a slowdown along Highway 78. Then Winstead pulls up multiple radio streams. He usually listens to two feeds at once.
So this is the Oceanside Battalion Chief telling the dispatcher to notify that Carlsbad has a possible vegetation fire. This is radio traffic from local ham radio operators, which is also picked up on this feed.
If you're picturing Winstead in a command center surrounded by walls of monitors and high-tech equipment, think again. The recent college grad is working from the bedroom of his UTC apartment. He uses a small MacBook, a single computer monitor, and a radio. But from this unassuming setup, Winstead carries tremendous responsibility. He confirms the Carlsbad fire is real and poses a danger to nearby residents.
It looks like we are going to upgrade the fire, so now everyone will get a notification.
Winstead sent the notification to Watch Duty's San Diego County subscribers. The alert lit up more than 500,000 phones. Watch Duty has only been around since 2021, but it's widely considered the app to use when you need fast, reliable updates on a wildfire.
If I've seen anything have the single greatest impact on engaging the public, this is the tool that's done it.
Ken Pimlott is the former chief of CAL FIRE, the state's fire prevention and response agency. He retired in 2018 after more than 30 years in firefighting.
Watch Duty has really found a niche that honestly needed to be filled as the fire problem continues to grow and across the western United States, but certainly here in California. People are hungry for information.
Watch Duty collects updates about wildfires and evacuations from a number of agencies and then funnels that information into an easy-to-use app. Paid staff reporters and an army of volunteer contributors monitor radio traffic to provide real-time updates. Before Watch Duty, you'd have to comb through a bunch of standalone websites, apps, and social media pages to glean that information.
We're trying to synthesize all the stuff that's going on, especially during the initial attack when a fire is first developing.
David Merritt is the co-founder and CTO of Watch Duty.
We're trying to make it relevant, not too much, not too often, but give people enough information to start making decisions on their own.
Merritt emphasizes that Watch Duty reports on updates and orders from official sources. It does not, for example, issue evacuation notices on its own. The app now covers 22 states and has 17 million users. That includes many firefighters and emergency responders.
It was a big surprise that the information gap also existed on the professional side. With mutual aid, with different firefighting agencies working together, there isn't a common operating platform for that.
Watch Duty offers multiple paid membership tiers, including one geared towards professionals. The basic version of the app, with the most essential information, remains free. Volunteer contributors played a huge role in allowing Watch Duty to scale up. Some are retired firefighters and dispatchers. Others are fire tracking enthusiasts. Winstead, the San Diego-based staff reporter, started monitoring and posting about wildfires on social media in high school. He was a student at UC San Diego when he joined Watch Duty as a volunteer.
I was kind of all in. I was probably putting in like 10, 20 hours a week in college, and then when summer came, that kind of became like, instead of having an internship, I volunteered with Watch Duty.
He graduated with a degree in real estate development, but decided to stick with Watch Duty when they called offering him a job. While Winstead reports on fires across Watch Duty's entire coverage area, he specializes in the San Diego region.
Knowing where a fire is going to spread, knowing which communities are going to be impacted, you really can't understand without local knowledge.
Sometimes it brings him a little too close to the action, like in June when a fire broke out near his parents' home where he was staying at the time.
I went outside, and pretty soon after I started listening, the smoke kind of started billowing towards me. Ash started falling on my computer, on me.
Winstead evacuated out of an abundance of caution. He finished reporting on the fire from a nearby Starbucks as CAL FIRE planes passed overhead. Scott Rod, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the News Hour, Israel signs on to a new U.S. proposal to end the war in Gaza. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
For decades, the city of La Mesa has chipped away at plans to redevelop its city center. KPBS reporter Elaine Alfaro says residents are ready to see progress on the ground.
So the police station built in '66, City Hall built in '57, and so we have been renovating as we go.
La Mesa's city manager Greg Humora has been working on plans for a revamped city center since the turn of the century. The goal is to update the city's public safety and administrative buildings in an area known as the Civic Center.
I'm really anxious to keep this project moving as quickly as possible to, finish the build out of the Civic Center.
The city made solid progress early on, building a new fire station, post office, interim library, and police department building. But development has slowed since 2010. Longtime resident John Schmidt says he's followed the plan since 2008.
We've been putting this off long enough. Let's give our employees a better place to work, and let's give our community a better place to use the library.
The City Council reviewed an estimated timeline at last week's council meeting to build a new city hall by 2029. The city also plans to expand its library in the Civic Center, though no completion date has been set. Schmidt said he's optimistic about the new plan.
I mean, that made my heart skip a beat, because there's been no vision, no timeline at all to consider, and I'm not a young man anymore. I'd like to be able to see this in my lifetime.
Elaine Alfaro, KPBS News.
A well-loved park in Bonita is set up for a makeover, but it's up to residents to decide what kind. iNews Source intern Rami Alarian has more.
It's one of the largest and most popular parks in South County, and now Chula Vista wants to know how to improve it. Parks and Recreation Director Frank Carson says the decision is up to the community.
We wanted people's input on what was most important to them at that point. We took all the feedback back to them, and that's how we are going, okay, what is the greatest priority to the community?
So far, there are two options. There's the Light Touch, which focuses on improving existing amenities. It also includes things like a community garden, drainage improvements, and more shrubbery and trees. Then, there's the Active Community Hub option. And so far, that's getting the most public support. That plan would add amenities, a splash pad, a pump track, 3 pickleball courts, an archery zone, a nature playground, and an amphitheater. The city says that public feedback is key when finalizing the plan, but that any project still needs funding. The city plans to close in on plans this winter and take it to a city council next year. For residents, the final deadline to take the survey is September 26. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source intern Rami Alarian.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS, and this story is part of our Public Matters partnership. To find out more, go to kpbs.org/Public Matters. Mortgage rates are finally coming down, and many financial experts say this is good news for the housing market. If you bought a home when rates were high, you may be asking, is now a good time to refinance your mortgage? Here's Jen Sullivan to explain the pros and the cons.
The American dream of owning a home has remained just a dream for many potential buyers, as the reality of high prices and high interest rates has shut them out.
The elevated mortgage rate reduced the transaction activity.
Lawrence Yoon with the National Association of Realtors says home sale prices aren't likely to come down anytime soon, but lower interest rates will make owning a home a little more affordable. As of last week, a 30-year fixed mortgage rate was 6.3%, according to Freddie Mac. In mid-January, that number was more than 7%. If you did buy a home when rates were much higher, is now a good time to refinance your mortgage and get a lower rate?
The bigger spread that you can have between the rate you have now and the rate you'll get in the future, the faster that break-even point is going to arrive.
Stephen Cates with Bankrate says refinancing your mortgage can be expensive. It typically costs between 2 to 6% of the new loan amount. Then there's closing fees. Bankrate came up with this list breaking down just how much you can expect in other costs.
You're going to be doing a lot of work because essentially you're rerunning an entire contract for your home.
Kate says you have to really crunch the numbers, and it may be better to wait until rates come down more.
You may be slightly worse off financially in terms of, the net benefit to you over the next few months or even few years.
If you do want to refinance, Cates recommends shopping around for the best rate. You don't have to stay with your current lender, and make sure your credit score is good. The higher your score, the better rate you'll likely get. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
The popularity of GLP-1 drugs for weight loss continues to rise. While weight loss for those on these drugs varies, one study suggests the amount a patient will lose may be partly based on their biology. Mandy Gaither talks to the lead researcher about the findings.
They've become an important weapon in the battle against obesity. GLP-1 medications can lead to significant weight loss, but how much you'll lose on them varies from person to person.
There are lots of different root causes that can lead someone to have obesity. And anytime you have something like that, where you have multiple causes that can lead to something, there's never going to be a single medication that's going to work well for everyone.
Daniel Rotroff with Cleveland Clinic is one of the lead researchers of a study that looked at whether genetics has a hand in weight loss on these drugs. They keyed in on a gene called neurobeachin. It's a protein in the part of the brain that regulates how full or hungry you feel. While everyone has this gene, he says variations in it may affect how well the gene works.
And we found that some of the variation was associated with increased weight loss and some of it was associated with decreased weight loss.
Rotroff says evaluating this gene alone may not be accurate enough to make the decision on whether a person should or should not take GLP-1 drugs for weight loss, but he says it could be an important step toward making a treatment plan personalized for each patient.
You know, with this gene score combined with other factors, lifestyle, sex, ancestry, other genes, maybe we could develop a truly accurate test for GLP-1.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
We've had a pretty deep marine layer starting to make an entrance into our area, and this one's gonna stick around for tonight, keeping us cooler for Tuesday itself. But guess what? There is a warming trend coming up as we go through the week, all the while still largely staying dry across the area. Tonight, the low 66 as you look towards Oceanside, 62. Head to Ramona, we're bottoming out at 59. Again, a lot of those clouds really pushing into our coastal inland communities, so you will note that. And that's going to stick around for your morning tomorrow. We top out at 75 in the city, head to Chula Vista, 76. El Cajon coming in at 80 degrees, while Borrego Springs tops out at 93. Moving through time, you'll note again that onshore flow just keeping in with some of the extra clouds and that thicker marine layer heading into Tuesday morning. Then as we go through things here, there's another weak boundary that's still off towards the northwest as we get into Tuesday afternoon. And once we push our way towards Wednesday, that's going to have some impacts on California, but not our neck of the woods. Farther south you go, the weaker that frontal boundary remains. So high pressure is going to build back in for us for the late week, which means we will see those numbers start to head up. We do dry out a little, and the concern will be some fire danger. Now, we're not looking at any strong winds just yet with the pattern, but that is something to keep in mind as we head through the late week and into the weekend. A look at the numbers here for us, holding on to the mid 70s rather as we go through much of the middle of the week with those extra clouds more prominent tomorrow, maybe even into Wednesday, still lingering, and then we'll see some brighter times to come. As we venture inland communities, you can see how that has that change on the numbers for us for tomorrow in the upper 70s, but then back into the 80s. We even warm up a little bit by Thursday into the mid 80s. Venturing to the mountain communities, holding on to the 60s throughout. It's actually going to be pretty pleasant heading into the weekend where we do warm up by Saturday, the lower 70s. And you'll find in our desert communities, we're holding on to the 90s, mid 90s pretty much throughout. Still a lot of sunshine here. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
A woman in San Bernardino started a micro bakery in her home that has grown so popular people drive hours for a loaf of her sourdough bread. Lori Perez reports her secret to success is all organic ingredients and love.
I used to laugh all the time. I would try to bake cupcakes. I would try to bake cakes. Never turned out.
Inez Rodriguez claims she's no expert baker, but 14,000 people following her on social media beg to differ.
So this is our baby here. We named it Tabitha.
Out of a licensed micro bakery in her family's San Bernardino home, she's selling 400 loaves of sourdough bread a week. Pre-orders sell out in minutes. In just 10 months since opening, She Rose Company has built a cult-like following of foodie customers.
So they've come from San Clemente, Oceanside, the high desert. We've had them come from actually like 2.5-hour drives.
Sure, it's the subtle tartness of the sourdough she and her husband spend days feeding and fermenting, but she believes their success is driven by something even greater.
My brother actually 11 years ago started struggling with his mental health. He developed mental illness. He's my older brother. I had to really educate myself on mental health, mental illness, what it was, so that I could advocate for him.
Rodriguez started serving meals in a local park, yearning to help people living on the street, who then included her older brother. She founded a nonprofit, which is 100% family funded. So now, with every loaf she sells, she's not only feeding the person who bought it, but using most of the profits to feed people in need, about 175 people a month. It's the reason she named her micro bakery She Rose.
Regardless of what we've gone through or what we experience, we rise.
Rodriguez is humble about the viral praise of her baking.
Have your cupcakes done any better? No, I'm staying away from the cupcakes.
But she does admit she's putting something special in her sourdough.
It's more than just bread. It's really just spreading love and positivity out into the world. My brother is doing a lot better. He's no longer in the streets. He's making a lot of progress.
Yeah, and that bread looks incredible. Well, here is a look at what we have for you for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition speaks with Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren about the prospect of a government shutdown. And KPBS Midday Edition is highlighting the San Diego History Center's new immersive exhibition exploring forgotten communities. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.